Good morning. I am delighted to be here today to talk about a subject very near and dear to my heart, and that is Episcopal schools here at the beginning of Episcopal Schools Week. I'm also delighted to be a trustee of St. John's Parish Day School. I'm not only enjoying being part of the Board of Trustees, but working with Ann Ratonia, the vestry, and everyone on the church side. St. John's is the 8th Episcopal school I've either worked in or worked with. I started when I was very young. And like the other 7, it lives out its Episcopal identity every day. Now, if you don't have a clear mental picture of what that phrase, Episcopal identity, means in the context of schools, you have plenty of company. For years, there have been discussions among Episcopal educators as to what constitutes the defining features of Episcopal education, and there is seldom a consensus. My first Episcopal school was the National Cathedral School in Washington. While I was there teaching, the Catholic schools in the Archdiocese of Washington decided to run a marketing campaign. They posted large signs on the sides of metro buses that said Catholic schools. And it seemed like a good idea since the phrase Catholic schools means something, it evokes something to most people. I just couldn't help wondering, though, what would be evoked in passersby if they saw a bus that said Episcopal schools driving down Pennsylvania Avenue. But before we talk about what makes Episcopal schools Episcopal, or the characteristics they share, let's get some background information. Episcopal schools have been around a long time. The oldest is Trinity School in New York City, which has been in continuous operation since graduating its first class in 1709. It has been joined by some 1,200 other schools of all grade levels, including 20 right here in Maryland. Many are preschools, but there are also elementary and middle, and K-12 configurations, while some are just high schools. 40 or so are boarding schools, including the aptly named Episcopal High School in Alexandria, Virginia. And there are even 3 Episcopal military schools. There are Episcopal schools in all but 3 states, and they can also be found in 12 other countries, including Haiti, which many people are surprised to learn has 252 Episcopal schools of its own. The schools range in size from the Iolani School in Hawaii with over 2,100 students, right down to Bright Beginnings Episcopal Preschool in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, which every day welcomes just 20 young scholars aged 2 to 5. Some schools are independent Episcopal schools. Some are connected to a cathedral or to a diocese. And many, like St. John's, are parish schools. Attending these schools are some 160,000 students who are the recipients of about $212 million in financial aid. Many are named for saints, like St. John's, from St. Aidan and St. Alban to St. Timothy and St. Wilfrid, with St. Boniface and St. James the Less in between. Incidentally, those schools named for saints, even if they have Episcopal in their title, are often confused with Catholic schools. And this is not surprising, even though the number of Catholic schools has gone down in some areas. Many are flourishing, and there are still over 6,000 of them in the United States, enrolling about 1.8 million students. So what binds together these 1,200 Episcopal schools of different sizes, serving different ages, spread across the country and around the world? After working in Episcopal schools for almost 40 years, as I said, I started very young. I have settled on 3 shared factors. The first is academic rigor. All Episcopal schools challenge their students with high expectations. This is certainly true at St. John's, where the quality of the academic program is a hallmark. But truth be told, this is a characteristic we share with the great majority of independent schools and many fine public school programs as well. The second is a broad spiritual underpinning. To me, this is the heart of the Episcopal identity. It is lived out in many ways: regular shared worship services, classes in religion, attention to the pastoral needs of the community, and a sincere commitment to outreach, which is spirituality lived out. Now, there are many wonderful schools, independent schools, including in this area, with innovative and exciting programs. But this spiritual underpinning is an area where, for a number of very valid reasons, secular schools can't go. And I think the package they offer their students is thus lacking an important component. Our religious focus allows us to openly discuss a wide range of issues that would be difficult otherwise. In addition, Episcopal schools can minister to the needs of students, parents, and the community in special ways in times of crisis. Just as the National Cathedral is known as the house of prayer for all people, Episcopal schools are also known for their openness to kids and families of all faith backgrounds. This is the third characteristic. We believe that opening our doors wide to students and parents of different religious traditions makes us a stronger faith community. This does not mean we're not clear about our beliefs, simply that we respect those of others. So the theme of this year's Episcopal Schools Week, as has already been read this morning, comes from the 58th chapter of Isaiah. Then your light shall break forth like the dawn, and your healing shall spring up quickly. Further along, it says, if you remove the yoke from among you, the pointing of the finger, the speaking of evil, if you offer your food to the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted, then your light shall rise in the darkness, and your gloom be like the noonday. The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your needs in parched places and make your bones strong. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations. You shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to live in. This passage embodies the values we seek to engender in our students: courage, compassion, caring, empathy, going beyond tolerance to active acceptance, persistence, and civility, with the knowledge that the Lord stands behind us and uplifts us every step of the way. Again, do other independent schools promote similar ideals? Of course they do, but I would suggest that the message underlying these values in Episcopal schools, that we are all children of God and members of the body of God, of Christ, and that as such we are acting out God's plan for us in the world, gives an authority, a grounding that is all important. It also allows students to see themselves in a deeper context, which is especially important as they grow older. Now, if what has been said has made you start thinking about an Episcopal school as a great option for your child, or a child in your family, or a child that you know, you are in luck. It just so happens that there is a wonderful Episcopal school very close to where we are sitting. It embodies all these themes, has gifted teachers, a long tradition in Ellicott City and Howard County, and a bright future. Its graduates are highly sought after by the most challenging middle and high school program in the areas, and show both academic prowess and real leadership. You are further in luck because this wonderful school and its wonderful leader are having a virtual admissions open house on October 15th and an in-person open house on October 23rd. But you don't have to wait. You can begin your exploration as soon as you get home by looking at the school website, www.stjohnspds.org, to start getting the flavor of this remarkable school and of Episcopal education. As I complete my 4th decade in the Episcopal schools world, I feel fortunate to be part of the St. John's community, both church and school. Once again, I thank Reverend Ann for the opportunity to share my thoughts with you today, and thank you for your kind attention. Many thanks, and go St. John's Bears.